Begin with the Daily Trust newspaper on our dailies on Daybreak. Now, the headline on the Daily Trust newspaper says, Zamfara community under siege as bandits strike. It has the riders that says, military vehicles, police outpost burned, 3 persons killed, 16 abducted, state government to hire 4,200 security guards. And that's these are the riders to the story, the lead story here, talking about insecurity in Zamfara State, one of the hotbeds, if you like, in Nigeria as regards the issue of banditry, and a lot of efforts have been made to contain the issue of banditry in Zamfara State. Well, I mean, in their defense, the government will say that they have. Whether or not it was sufficient or effective, it's another question.
Indeed.
So the issue of the negotiations and the dialogue and so on that were entered into,
it seemed to be futile. I mean, there is no result from that.
Materialize. And
yes,
then,
but one thing I would commending Zamfara government finally for doing is, taking the measures that the Katsina State government took, in recruiting, using the money for the palliative that was given to them, to recruit citizens and turn them to vigilante, in order, because the people are the ones who knows who these people are. Yeah. So the state is saying that they're having about 4,200 security guards, which is something that needed to happen.
But something that security experts have faulted over time is this idea of dealing with the issue in silos, where you have states, dealing with it in an isolated manner. Everyone is dealing with it, as a state, and we've not seen that regional approach like we've seen in the southwestern part of the country, where we have the Afenifere, where we have the Amotekun Corps, for instance, which some have actually said is yielding results.
No, it is. We've seen it.
Insecurity,
insecurity would happen in Oshun, and then the news is everywhere. So they'll track these people maybe in Ogun State and all that. So we've seen that interstate.
So why can't we have the same approach in the northern part of the country, where you have regional approach to the issue, where states will come together as governors coming together, as representing their states, and decide that okay, we are starting up something like this. Because the fact is this: when you are fighting insecurity and you are fighting in silos, what happens is, if you deal with the bandits, say in Sokoto, for instance, and they run to Zamfara State, and then from Zamfara State, if there's fire on them, they move to another state, and that's how they keep rigmaroling across all the states, and so you never see an end to it. It's keep coming up as a circle and so on. So, but if you have a regional approach to it, definitely the bandits will see that there is no place of hiding.
Indeed. I mean, for the first time, due to this side event that happened in Tudumbiri, in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State, we've seen 19 and northern governors, coming together to go commiserate with the Obasani, to show their, to give their condolences rather with him on the event that happened. So all of them were there, and this was chaired, I think, by the governor of Gombe State, Yahya, where they started making mention of how they should, come together in order to make sure that never happen again, and then to put pressure on this insecurity situation in order to fix that. So we hope that, of course, that meeting doesn't stop with just the first time. It should be pushed, because someone also brought this issue, I think, about 3 to 4 years ago. So hate him or love him, Erifai made mention of this, that he reached out to some of these governors suffering from these insecurities for them to sit down and work together. And the only person at that time that gave him listening ears was the governor of Niger State. So, of course, we see how these things happen, and we hope that they sit down together to make sure they map out how to fix these things. Negotiation is not working, so let's try another route. All
right. Well, another story here on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper is the editorial of the Daily Trust. It says, it's asking a question, querying, what does the World Bank want from Nigeria? Is a big question there, and I'm sure that's on the back of the recent, if you like, suggestions or proposal by the IMF and World Bank to Nigeria to, increase the fuel pump price to 750 naira, saying that it should be around that number, around 750 naira per liter, and not what we have right now as 650 naira per liter. In their view, the government of Nigeria is still paying subsidy, and which is why the price is still at 650 naira. And so there's a detailed explanation here, by the Daily Trust newspaper on the editorial page 13, of the paper. So if you want some more information, you can pick that up. Other stories: experts, unions differ over FG's plan to restructure TCN on page 19. That's also another story that you like to take a look at. You have also Trust TV wins Nigerian Media Merit Award on page 26. We started off with a banter on this earlier on the show. For those who are just joining, yes, you heard it right. Trust TV, won the Nigerian Media Merit Award under the Production of the Year category. A documentary produced by Trust TV talking about the alleged killer doctor, produced by Gaza Yakubu, won that award. There were 2 nominations actually for Trust TV. One of them was produced by our own Aaron Asahel, through the Benue. That's one of the documentaries there. So it's a big one for Trust TV. This is an addition to the awards that Trust TV has won in less than 3 years of its existence. And if we can do this at this point, just imagine what will happen in the next 5 or 10 years to come.
Expect the unexpected.
Trust TV has been exceptional. You can bet that. I mean, we are not just saying that because we work for Trust TV, but if you've been following what Trust TV is doing, then you know that there's rich content, investigative documentaries, very informative and educational content that we churn out right here on the platform. So it's something that, it will pay you to be a loyal audience to, Trust TV. Now, other stories there, the pictorial there, you'd see a long queue at cooking gas refuel station in Abuja, where we have some Nigerians trying to buy gas, and the queues, I believe the banks, this is at the banks perhaps. Well, below the pictorial, you have a Afenifere raises alarm over rising kidnappings in southwestern part of the country. So also you have other stories: ripples over appointment of 132 liaison officers for Kano local government areas on page 10. You have customer loyalty: Zenith Bank, Borno government back Daily Trust awards. So these are stories that you like to check out. NMA gives FG 45-day ultimatum to review doctors' salary. Here we go again. And this issue of NMA, Medical Doctors, Nigerian Medical Doctors Association, is threatening, again. Sometimes you think that these issues are sorted, and then it props up again. So
it is what is happening. I mean, we've seen the NLC also come out to accuse the federal government of not paying 35,000 naira that was agreed, to cushion the effect of the subsidy. So it's something that this is one of the things that you see happening, and then you realize this is why people are leaving the country. This is why people are jackpotting, because a lot of agreements are made and sealed, but then it does not, come to fruition, and people are angry. People are tired also, so there's too much expectation.
Yeah. So, well, these are the stories on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. We can look at other papers now.
All right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning. It says the major story carries federal government firms trade jobs as illegal expatriates take over the economy. Now, you find that on page 6. There's also, as usual, of them, bringing all the numbers out, saying about 13,829 foreigners were issued the EQ's permits, while 1,161 business permits were given to foreign companies to operate in Nigeria between 2019 and 2022. So where are the taxes paid by these people? I mean, we keep hearing the federal government saying there is no money, in the treasury. So we have 13,000 expatriates quota, about 1,600 work permits issued in 3 years. The expatriates issues a Nigerian diplomatic passport. We have a 150,000 expatriates in Nigeria. That's according to the Ministry of Interior. Below that, still what's happening in River State. Pro-Wike lawmakers re-strategize to oust Fubara and vows to reclaim River State. I mean, what
Apparently,
is happening?
we are yet to hear the last of the political impasse in River State. It's being a roller coaster, if you like, because the incumbent governor Sim Fubara and the minister of FCT have been back and forth with their loyalists. The defection of the 27 lawmakers is definitely a heavy blow on the administration of the governor. I mean, how do you govern without a legislative arm? You have barely maybe 5 or less than 10 lawmakers who are still, on the side of the governor. And, there are questions about whether the presentation of the budget in the state stands based on this political impasse and so on. So the fear for me is that destabilizing a state like River State could have a ripple effect on the entire country, and which is why some are of the view that it's important that the president comes in on this issue and waiting, because imagine us having oil as a bane of our economy, and then it's been disrupted. Even right now, when we talk about ramping up production to ensure that we have enough forex in the country, we do not have enough forex. That's why we are recording this high inflation that we are, talking about earlier, 28%. So if something is to happen to the production of our crude in River State, definitely it spells doom for the economy. And you can't have that, especially at a point where we are trying to pass a budget and see how we raise funds whichever way. I mean, think about the deficit in our budget in trillions of naira, right? So it's very key that we have that. And then let's not forget the investments in River State as well. How will this impact on the security issue in rivers? You have foreign investors in rivers, you have international oil companies and so on. What happens if there is, some kind of political impasse that could have an impact on the security situation in the country and in the state?
Before you know it,
it's very important that
it lives from being a state problem to a national problem. So, I mean, these things shouldn't even happen in the first place. There's been a lot of destruction of government properties, and the taxpayers' money is going to be the one to, cover that expenses. And also, I don't envy Fubara at this point. You're taking office. This is the time that you need to prove yourself to your people. But then this
commissioners are resigning their office and all.
And let's not forget how the budget was passed in a day because of this issue. Because these people, the about 5 faction that is being headed by Edison Ehi, was in a rush to prove a point. So the budget, a day, it's not okay to, say that you've gone through the budget of how this money is going to be spent. So it's really a sad situation, and it's not yielding any good result. And there is that fear. I saw a video of Asari Dokubo coming out to advise Mr. President, to talk, because this thing is already looking like a tribal issue.
Yes, but at the same time, as people are calling on the president to also wading into the issue, some political pundits are also of the opinion that, look, the state, River State, for instance, is a state. It's a subnational state that has some level of autonomy, right, politically. Some say that the president is not a headmaster, that you expect him to just summon everybody, even though we know in Nigeria, politically, the president has a lot of political influence to do a lot of things, especially given the fact that a party to the conflict is his appointee, talking about the FCT minister, is his appointee. And so perhaps there are ways in which the president can come in, but as much as, the president is being called upon to do that, it's very important also not to worsen the situation by taking sides, for instance. And we should also recognize that, yes, that Sim Fubara is a democratically elected governor in the state. So there's a level to how much you would try to, wade or control things, in that regard. So it's very important that we see an end to this impasse. People are talking about godfatherism, how the FCT minister is trying to, twist the governor and so on, and the governor feeling frustrated with all that, and certain promises were made, certain agreements were signed and so on, and people are reneging on the agreement and so on. That's, at the end of the day, what Nigerians want, what the people of Rivers State wants, is a leadership that is really concerned about their plight, and a leadership that will transform their lives positively. Sure. So it's very important that people respect that and respect the people, because at the end of the day, it's about the people.
It is about the people. A really sad situation. Then it's another problem, of Nigeria that needs to be stopped before it all escalates. I mean, major story of the Guardian newspaper is also something that has come to my mind about how the federal government and some firms are trading jobs as illegal expatriates are taking over the economy, which is really, really, sad situations. We're seeing these expatriates having been the one to hold some major position. They're getting they still have this business permit, and even a local business is finding it difficult to thrive in this economy. A really sad one. Hopefully
that, what I would just say as regards that is that we have laws in this country that governs how foreign investors can come in and do business in Nigeria. And whoever is coming into Nigeria to invest or to do business must do that according to the books, must do that according to the rules of the game. There's a percentage of Nigerians that we are expected to hire in line with our local content policy. There's a percentage of, indigenous people that you are expected to hire. And if you are not doing that, then you are running foul of the law, and the law should, catch up with you.
Indeed.
And we are we are looking up to the government, looking up to regulators and government authorities responsible for some of these things to do their bit, because at the end of the day, it can backfire. It's already backfiring, if you ask me. But anyways, let's move away from that. We have Kano residents won't accept injustice. That's according to the deputy governor, and his warning based on, of course, the judgment of the appeal court, awaiting what the Supreme Court would say. We have Serap sues INEC for failing to prosecute electoral offenders in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo states. Now, that is a lot of expectations, on INEC. It's already with a lot of things, waiting that INEC should even make some relevant materials available due to what is happening in Kogi. We saw how the wreck was attacked and a lot of electoral materials were carted away. So right now it's looking like, of course, someone needs to take the charge when it comes to the decision of electoral offenders in Nigeria. Now, moving on, we have profligate governors saying that political crisis pauperizing the citizens. You find that on page 12. NCDC confirms outbreak of dengue fever in Sokoto. What else? Okay, yes. Now, these are some of the stories that you'd find on the Guardian newspaper this morning. All right. So let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, where you have the lead story. It says, Nigeria losing billions of revenue to free trade zone operators. according to customs. You would find that on page 2, and then above the lead story, LG accounts not frozen, chief of protocol not suspended, although government denies reports. You would also find the other stories, 15,000 Lagos traders to get 750 million naira as Sanwo-Olu launches market money. You also have the other story. Agbata-Atan-Lusada Road will be completed in 9 months. That's according to Biodun. River State, PDP moves to end Fubara Wike feud. CUPP alleges plot to validate defections of 25 assembly members. Don't pull the leader you use in climbing, Wiki warns. You also have Tribune wins best in editorial writing at NMMA. Other stories. There is no credible opposition in Nigeria. APC National Secretary. You have Naiti tracks over $20 billion recoverable revenues, recovers $3 billion. That's one of the headlines earlier today. NPA uncovers fake seaport e-call-up syndicate at MPS Brigade. New show of Ogbomosho is destined to be king. That's according to E.A. Adeboye, the General Overseer of Redeemed Christian Church of Nigeria. You also have other stories. Inflation. FG seeks repatriation of proceeds from oil and gas to bring stability to foreign exchange pricing regime. Convicted drug baron loses VGC mansion. SUV as NDLEA arrest grandma for drugs in Lagos. Wow.
I saw that trending on social media, and I saw the picture, and I looked at her and I'm like, how did you even get yourself in that place? I mean, when you're old already, it's just like you just need to just relax. I mean, you see the world as vanity, right? At that age, but then at her age, she's thriving to have some save up of what is it called? The money that you do when you leave work. What is this called? I just missed it out. Okay. Retirement money. Okay. Thank you. All right, so retirement money, and a lot of people saw that, and people were saying, please just let her go. But then that's the problem with Nigeria. When you keep saying let people go based on some certain things that you feel makes them vulnerable, then crime rates definitely would increase. Yeah. So everybody should pay for what they're doing.
I mean, you can only imagine for how long has this grandma been doing this.
Indeed.
Think about that, and think about the volume of drugs that may have come into this country because of the the tendency to have sympathy. Because with age, sometimes we think, oh, let's have some sympathy on this person, but then what about the harm done to the system?
Indeed,
because of this person.
Harm. We know if there is one common thing that people always talk about, insecurities that they've experienced, they always say that the people that did that act are always high, on a lot of, they're intoxicated. So definitely, the drug is already getting bad. It's hitting us bad. It's actually contaminating our system into not being so productive. Having the fact that we always brag about how much we have human resources. So right now, the youths are partaking in this kind of thing. So that woman, needs to be punished for what she did. Grandma, it was wrong.
Unfortunately, sorry about that, but it was wrong. All right. Well. Other stories here on the Nigerian Tribune. 10 years post-privatization, Nigeria's unreliable power grid pushes big customers away. That's according to stakeholders. This is one of the major issues. In fact, if you like, you may say it's the crux of the matter. Each time we talk about cost of production in Nigeria, or we talk about ease of doing business in Nigeria, the issue of energy, comes into the picture, because how do you thrive, economically or business-wise at a time like this, in this generation, without having, steady power supply. So that's a major issue, and I'm sure that has impacted on businesses, and stakeholders wouldn't find that funny. You need to think about the struggle of the average Nigerian who is trying to start up a business in Nigeria. With the current price of energy, the 650 naira for fuel, I mean, for many, they will have to rely on generators to power their generators. Whether you're, for instance, operating a salon, or doing some welder or some other businesses, that we know. We know that power is very, very key.
Sure.
And so for us to really have an economy that is viable, then the issue of having steady power supply is not negotiable. It is
not. I mean, talking about businesses, let's not forget, there are people that sit at the comfort of their home to do business. So they use their devices, their phones, laptops. So if there is no power supply, that business is stopped until the power is restored. So definitely power supply is something that, power supply, transportation, and then the cost of fuel is something that is shaking the business sector in Nigeria. And we saw earlier last week the president coming out to plead to multinational companies not to leave Nigeria. But I don't think that should be the cause. We still need to come back and work on these major things. It's really
and fix the home front. We have to do our own homework. All right. Other stories there. Don't abuse your IPPIS exemption, FG is telling VCs and others. Well, these are the main stories on the Nigerian Tribune today. Let's rush one other paper, at least just before we round up the show.
Indeed. All right, let's take a look at the first newspaper here. The top of the paper, it says, fresh troubles for Wike as Timmy Frank demands the probe over Rivers DPO killing, about $300 million and 9 billion naira theft. The major story is carrying Rivers crisis. Wike talks tough, ones that I won't accept to be dragged down, and takes a jab at Fubara. Says politicians must respect party rules. As pro-Wike lawmakers reject the governor's 800 billion naira 2024 budget. We have 22,000 defunct microfinance mortgage banks. Depositors get 1.7 billion naira refund. That's according to NDIC. Fintiri versus Binyani. The tension grips Adamawa as appeal court rules today. We're waiting to hear from Adamawa State to see how this pan out. No plan to influence Supreme Court's judgment. That's according to Kano APC. Why I didn't stop. But hold on, let's take a step back. Why should the Kano APC even come out to say no plans to influence? I mean, it boils down to what we're saying about judiciary autonomy. Why would you even feel that you need to even influence? You can influence. For you to even come out and say, no, we don't have plans of influencing. It takes us back to wondering, what is wrong for someone to even say that particular thing. A really sad situation. But anyways, these are the stories that we can take on the first newspaper this morning, and these are the papers that we are able to bring to you to discuss. So you can make sure, do well to pick up a copy of the newspapers, to take a read of what is happening in our nation.